Hi friends, if you don't know me, my name's Guy Barrington, and living in the Czech Republic, originally from England. And I feel I want to share something of my story, what I've been through the last few weeks, which then leads back to the last few years, and a deeper journey into what I'm currently experiencing. So the short version is I had a minor heart attack recently, and that led me to hospital, and then had a quadruple bypass operation 7 days ago, and now I've returned home. So that's the kind of activity of what happened, but there's a lot of other dimensions to this story that I'd like to share now that I have time to be able to share these things. First of all, I just want to apologise for the vibration in the background. They're transforming the roads next to our home. It's just the way it is. I haven't got the energy or expense to go to some fancy studio to film this, so I hope you're okay just listening like this. I'm just going to come and go during this. So Joseph Campbell, great mythologist, talked about the hero's journey. And the hero's journey essentially is our journey, our life story, and the ordeals we face, and the resources we discover, the lessons we learn, and the gifts we reveal to ourselves and to the community as we triumph, as we pass through these ordeals and challenges. And it seems to be the map of the human experience. So it's not just for a few or select or heroes or movie stars, it's everybody. Everybody is on their own heroes or heroines journey, day to day, moment to moment, as you face your challenges and ordeals, to triumph, to go through, to overcome, to have compassion, to integrate. That seems to be my journey through my life, has been primarily about the heart, my heart, our heart, love, beauty of relationship, connection, expression. I've always been interested in this dance of love and intimacy and closeness, and that developed into a career of conscious dance, originally with biodanza, and then later I developed something called the Dancing Heart Path, which I've been running here in the Czech Republic for the last 10 years. And this has been a journey of awakening the heart, the physical heart, the energy in the body, the energy in the emotion, but also like the sacred heart of our vision and our passion and our purpose. In some way, I've always been on this journey. Ever since I was a small boy, even aged like 12, I was meditating. I went to a monastery school and was asking the monks their esoteric questions about the nature of life and existence. So in some way, I've always been a seeker or somebody curious to make a deeper inquiry into the meaning and feeling and being of life. So the heart is my topic, and recently the heart was a very, very strong topic. What actually happened was I've had a high blood pressure for a long time, about 20 years, and I've gone through different episodes of trying medication, trying alternative therapies, all sorts of things, having side effects and all counter indications and stuff like this, and not been very satisfied with the approach that I found up to this point. Anyway, living with high blood pressure is dangerous. You can have a stroke or a heart attack at any time, and to be honest, I've been living with that fear of death for years now. Sometimes I'd go to bed in a kind of stressed, sympathetic state. Mind is calm, but the body is overactive and just can't calm down, can't enter my parasympathetic nervous system. As a consequence, can't really sleep deeply, can't rest fully, can't relax fully, can't open fully, can't experience the simple things of life because there's a subtle or strong tension running through my system. And it's been like this for a long time. Now I've got kids, and going to bed at night time when you're in this kind of stress state and not knowing if you're going to wake up is terrifying. Actually, it's like going to the night with a question: is this it? Will I wake up? And that's been haunting me for a long time. Personally, I feel quite comfortable with death. It's like I know it's a natural transition. It's part of life. It's happening all the time. Hair just falling out, skin coming off, physical death, it's all the time. But the idea of leaving my kids and loved ones and friends and this Earth, beautiful planet Earth, this doesn't really appeal to me because I'm not done yet. I've got more to give. I've got more love to share. I've got more to realise, and I'm not giving up into that great void. That's not my wish. But with the high blood pressure and the tension I've been feeling for these last years, it's been feeling like it could come at any point. The doctor I saw shared this very clearly. He said, "It's like this operation you're going to have is just going to take away that fear." Yeah. Now, what's going on physically in the body is my heart pumping. I've got a good, strong heart, but then it comes through the arteries, and the arteries are compromised. They've got a little plaque, or I can't say the word, sclerosis, where from lots of cholesterol they narrow, so the arteries are more narrow, so the pressure comes through the arteries and creates this tension. And the last 2 weeks I was feeling a lot of pain here, actually on the right side of my chest, which was peculiar, so I thought, is this like post-viral? Have I pulled a muscle? More extreme, have I got lung cancer? What is this pain about? And when I went to see the doctor eventually, they tested my blood pressure, and it was nuts. I think it was 220 over 120, which was it's dangerous. The doctor told me you're supposed to be hospitalised if it's under 180 kind of thing, and I knew that. And I've got my own blood pressure machine at home, and I could feel that it was super high, and the pain was very strong. And even walking a few yards, I was breathless, and it hurt. But me being me, I was creating a festival that weekend and wanted to make sure that the festival was up and running. I put a lot of effort into this, invited people, and I did do a DJ set in the morning, and I did create the festival. And then in the afternoon, I took myself off to a hospital because the message was so strong. Go now. And if I hadn't gone, I don't know what would have been the outcome. But I'm glad I followed that intuition and took myself to A&E, this wonderful hospital in Prague, military hospital, where I was seen with a lot of love, respect, kindness, and skill. And they discovered quite quickly from a blood test that there's an enzyme in there which indicates you've had a heart attack or something's happened within the heart of a dangerous level. Then they did an ECG, and it showed some irregularity, and those two things were enough for them to immediately hospitalize me. So I went straight from A&E up into the ward, cardiology ward, and then stayed there for I think maybe 5 days as they did every possible test very, very quickly. Echocardiograms, all the blood tests, all the kind of tests you need to discover what's really going on in the heart. Now this was it was a bit worrying because I haven't got health insurance here, so I knew there'd be a bill to this, big expense. And which is why I've asked for crowdfunding, because I haven't, as a UK citizen, managed to organise Czech health insurance, because I'm still paying tax in the UK system, and because we left Brexit, they've no longer got a compatible arrangement, which is unfortunate. So up until now I've been a self-payer, and this ordeal has meant a huge amount of money. So if you're feeling generous and would like to donate something, go towards some medical bills, paying rent for the next few months, and to support me and my family as I go through this, I would appreciate that. I'll put a link in the comments under the video. Alright, so here I am in the cardiology ward doing all the tests, and there's one test I've been wanting for several years, but it was very expensive, and they said you've got to have this test. It's the only way to discover the arteries are blocked or compromised. So what they do is they inject this radioactive dye into your system, and then you're sitting under this X-ray machine, and you can see on a big screen here, and they're scanning through your arteries, and it looked beautiful to me. I was in this kind of poetic vision watching, wow, it looks like a forest, and look at all those kind of branches coming off, the veins, arteries, whatever they're called. So I was in this kind of poetic, awe of the beauty of my own heart from the inside. And he said at the end, your heart is really ill, and it's like, okay. I'd suspected it for a long time. I'd felt it. I'd had this kind of doom hanging over me, this dark cloud, that this was the case, that there was a blockage in the arteries and the blood wasn't getting through. I'd been experiencing tiredness, I'd been overexerting my will to get through the day, to do the things I needed to do, support my family and the work that I was doing. So there was an element of push in me to continue the existence, but it was pushing against this kind of narrowing of the arteries. He said to me very clearly, you've got two choices. You can either have stents, which are these like artificial bridges they put inside the arteries, with a small metallic kind of weave, and they open the arteries and hold them open. And in many cases, these are fantastic. They work for a long time for a lot of people. He said the only trouble with you, Guy, is that you've got lots of blockages. They're not blockages, but a narrowing of the arteries in lots of different places. So it would mean stenting in loads of different places. And he said it's a temporary fix. He said if it was his situation, he would definitely have bypass. What that means is they took actually veins from my leg and from the mammary gland up here, and they turn those veins into arteries. It's incredible. And they rewire the blood flow in the heart. So if this one was blocked, they'll put a new one with a slightly different angle, reroute the blood flow, and hook back into the system. Then it goes through the body. And in my case, they didn't just do 1, 2, 3; they did 4. So there's a quadruple bypass. Now, what's happened since is I can feel this like thump in my heart, like a boom, like there's power here. And what they said you're going to have to get used to or acclimatize to is the energy coming from the heart as it flows through the rest of your body, which is not used to that powerful flow in that way, because it's been kind of squeezing its way through with some effort, and now it's like boom. So this is what I've actually been experiencing the last few days, this really strong kind of definite, clear, vital. I've been feeling the energy of the bear actually a lot. This kind of, there's a ferociousness and there's a power and there's a potency in my heart that I've not felt before. It's like a different dimension of Guy which has been unleashed through this operation. Even though at the same time my body is, I've been cut, I'm scarred, I'm tired, I'm going through all the kind of repair work of, post-surgery, which probably will take about 3 months. They had to cut me here and actually cut through the bone over my ribs. It's not very nice, this is it. So you're breaking open so you can get into the arteries, get into the heart. And just another little point, they told me this before the operation. They said, we're going to stop your heart for an hour, and that freaked me out a little bit. I didn't ask any more questions because I'd already decided I'm going to do this no matter what. We're going to stop your heart for an hour, and you're going to go into artificial lungs and heart to keep the blood pumping. So that's what happened. I had to really breathe into that one, and enter. It was like, wow, it's a bit like my heart's been pumping my whole life, and there's going to be a stop, a pause, a resting. Well, it can be renewed, rerouted, reinvigorated. I'm saying it like this because this is the physical activity of what happened, but from a metaphysical point of view, from a wider perspective, I know I've had to stop for a long time and I just haven't done it. I've got this kind of drive inside of me. I've got this workshop, this DJ set, this school, this lesson, this coaching, this project. I'm so creative, I would keep going all the time if I could. It's been my kind of approach to life. And at the same time, like, my body is not capable of withstanding that level of creativity, or hasn't been. And it's been showing all these signals like pains here, aches here, can't sleep, tired, bit of irritation, not feeling good in the body. There's all these kind of like displacement of energy, which comes when there's too much sympathetic nervous system activity. That's how I understand it. So for me to genuinely go into like deep rest, almost like a hypnotic, lullaby, that's not been very often the case. But to rebalance my life, to have a life, not just rebalance, to have a life, I need to learn this lesson. And it seems the universe, in her great wisdom, said, right, Guy, we're going to stop you. And luckily, it was only considered a minor heart attack. Yeah? It wasn't like a great dramatic event. It was progressive over like 3 or 4 days of increasing pain in the chest, which triggered enough indicators that there was a bigger problem in the arteries. So one thing led to another. Then I was in another hospital where they did the actual operation. Hospitals, I don't know how you feel about them, what you know, but it required me like huge surrender. I'm quite used to being in control of my life, doing my own thing, on my own timetable, my own way, and you're attached to like tubes and got things hanging out of you where they take your blood and measuring your blood pressure all the time, pulse, and you have food here and here, pills here and here, and it's very systematized, it's very structured, very organized. There's nothing I can do. This is completely out of control. So allowing myself to go into that place of choosing it the way it is, and allowing myself to like fully place my life temporarily into the hands of the doctors and nurses. And a friend of mine said just before the surgery, I want you to imagine that God or Goddess is working through their hands. And that's what it was like just before I had the anaesthetic. There was this very sublime moment of transcendence, where there was music playing in the operating theatre, really high volume rave music. They were having like a party in there. That was a good indication. I'm a DJ. I like the fact that they were celebrating with music and upbeat, and so they're just finishing an operation, and I was in the kind of room next door waiting, and this woman came to me. She had like pink hair, tattoos. She was one of the nurses there, who just preparing me to go in, and she stopped and she put her hand on my shoulder. She looked at me and she said, "Your job is to wake up and take a breath." It was so strong. It was like, whoa, like tears started to pour out my eyes. But I just felt the love in what she said. It was like, there's all the technical instruction. This will happen, that will happen, this will happen. And here was that real emotional human connection. It's like, this is life. This is your life. And your main task is to wake up and take a breath. How to simplify life into just a sentence. And I kind of went in to the operating theatre in that awareness. Okay, the will of my life, the love of my heart, is just to wake up and take a breath. I went into the operating theatre at 4:55, there's a clock over here, and just visualizing my family and Shiva and Ganesha and Krishna, and just calling in these higher forces to support. I was doing a bit of breath work to like balance my energy field, because although you have cuts in the physical, I was also preparing my energetic body and everything else to also receive this transformation. And I was surrendered, relaxed and ready. And when they gave me the anesthetic, I was just doing my mantras, visualizations, seeing my family, and off I went. I don't know what music they played. I hope they played high power music. I was gone, sublime. And they actually wake you up with, I don't know what they do with the anesthetic, but at 2:30 in the morning I was woken up and told it was a very successful operation. There was no complications. It'd only taken 3 hours. It could have taken 4 or 5 hours, and all was good. And I took that breath and just felt the power of my aliveness coming back, and I felt very, very blessed. My only mission was to come out of that operating room alive. That was the fear I was with. And I feel tremendous respect for the hospital. It's called IKEM, I-K-E-M, a cardiologist specialist. Some of the best surgeons in the whole of Europe work there. And my surgeon was called Peter, and he was a great guy, really connected to me in a very clear, human, masculine, direct, kind way. I felt really safe in his hands I shook his hand, and the first time just felt, he's the man. God is going to work through him into me to transform my life. I met him a few days later when he was doing his rounds on the ward, and I could see he was happy with his work. Like, what kind of satisfaction that must bring, at some deep, profound level. Save a life, give a new opportunity, a new breath, new vitality, new energy in the body, new optimism, new everything. It shifted a lot my perspective on the whole kind of medical thing, because sometimes you get lost in the whole politics and the drama and whatever happened through COVID, and there's a bit of mistrust in Western medicine. But actually, when you get down to it face to face with people day in, day out, these warriors in the operating theatres, and the surgeons, the nurses, the people who trolley you along, they work so well together as a team. There's really clear structure, they know what to do, they know how to self-organise the whole process. And I was just witnessing this wonderful dynamic flow the whole time I was in there. I'll just speed you through the next few days because they were pretty uncomfortable. Basically, when you have this operation, so they stop the heart. Apparently, they put a load of ice in there. That's what one of the nurses told me. I don't know if they did or not. That's so the heart's not bleeding, so they can stitch these new arteries into place. And there's always a bit of excess blood. Yeah, so I had 4 holes here with drains coming out, and that was incredibly uncomfortable because there's like a tube which was through my ribs, draining out this blood. Whew. Yeah, really, that hurt a lot. I couldn't really breathe. Couldn't breathe into the lower lung because that kind of pushed the tube up. Couldn't breathe into the top of the lung because I couldn't get up there beyond it because it was kind of squeezed in between. So my breath was so shallow. It was like for like 2 days. I was on all these painkillers, which was quite interesting. Yeah, they were pretty soothing, but there's this continuous like ache here. I just want to give you a little picture of sleeping at night time if you can. You've got to be completely still. So if you're a regular, you're in a bit of trouble. You'll lie there on your back, because you've been sawn through your chest. And if you go off to a different angle, then this is not going to heal properly. It's going to heal out of symmetry. So if you were to sleep on your side, then it might, for those 8 hours of sleep, for example, you get a lopsided healing. My chest was cut here, from here to here, and they've put this titanium wire around the bone to heal it together. And it's not painful. I'm not on any painkillers today at all. And but it should probably take 3 months because this cracked bone needs to heal. It will take time. So lying in bed, you're kind of on your back, you can't move, and you've got this pain in the ribs. You've got drips coming out your arm. You've got drips coming from some device up here, which is making sure the blood is thin enough and it's not coagulating. Because there's a concern that the heart could have a heart attack in that moment. It's very, very vulnerable. They monitor you so much in those first couple of days. You're in the ICU intensive ward, which is downstairs. They come and see you, I don't know, every 20 minutes, something like this. And when they're not seeing you, they're watching you on the screens, so you're always under their attention. To check the vitals, that it's all okay. And they're adapting the medication to, they had to slow my heartbeat down a bit more because it was too aggressive at one point. Slow it down, calm, and soften the whole system. It's incredible. It's a bit like the way I DJ. I kind of move people on the dance floor with the different frequencies of music, and they're moving through the different biochemical medicines they use. Yeah. Then after 2 days, you go up another level into the first floor, and it's a less intensive cardiac unit where they monitor you, but not every 20 minutes. You're there more as a patient now in recuperation phase. And they took out these tubes, and that was such a relief. They did say to me, when the tubes come out, you can breathe again. So this idea of breath, take a breath. I taken a small breath when I came back the first time, and now suddenly it's like, I can actually, even though there's pain here, I can breathe all the way through my whole chest. And that's been a problem my whole life, actually. In this solar plexus here, my breath often gets stuck, and I can actually start to celebrate the whole breath opening. they give you a little balloon that you got to keep blowing up there to like re-energize, to work the muscle of the lungs as well. Yeah. So on about day 3, I could say with the tubes out and the painkillers at that point, I was feeling okay. It's like I was having loads of sweats at night, and it was weird. It was still uncomfortable, but I'd surrendered into the process, and I was starting to feel this kind of aliveness come through my system again. It's like I made it. Like, not, I don't even want to say I made it. So many people were praying for me. My family flew over from England to come and be with me. My son just came out and just hung out, days at a time. My partner and daughter came as much as they could. It was really, the love was so overwhelming. There were really hundreds and hundreds of messages of goodwill. I'm lighting a candle for you, sending a prayer, sending energy, or sending money, donation. I'm there with you. You can do this. I've got your back. And that was a really big part of it, actually. In one way, you're in hospital, you're alone. It's your ordeal. It's your hero's journey. Surrounded by strangers, speaking a different language, feeling pain and alone at some level. And yet when I closed my eyes and started just tuning into all my friends and these messages, and I've never felt so loved. Really never. I've had girlfriends, one-to-one love, but this was like love from hundreds of people, hundreds. It's like a wave after wave of this golden light flooding through my system. People sending healing and energy and presence. And so thank you all, everyone. I really felt the support. And I know they've done lots of studies on it recently, but there's power of prayer. Whatever you perceive prayer as being, connecting to a higher force, more sublime intelligence, that really influences the field. And shared focus. Hundreds of people were sharing focus at the point I was having the operation. Willing, wanting, wishing, hoping, praying, opening for a good consequence, a good result, a good outcome. Visualizing a future I can live into with a healthier body. That's what I was doing, but I felt that so many people were doing it with me. It's like energy coming through from the community. It's very, very powerful. And that brings me to say something a little bit deeper about the whole process. Is why was I working so hard? Why was I teaching? I was teaching in 27 cities around Czech Republic, rotating. Before that, before COVID, I was traveling all around Europe, flying here, there, and everywhere. I was flying to Holland every couple of weeks before that, years ago. There's an intensity to share the message of love and community and connection. But when I observe my activity, it was out of balance. I wasn't also living the message as fully as I was teaching it. I was dancing my talk as much as I could. But I was overstretching, I was overdoing, I was overgiving, I wasn't replenishing. I wasn't being available for receiving. And that was why it was so moving for me to feel your support during this. Still feeling your support during this. It's because that's one of the key components, the psychological components, the emotional components, the spiritual component, is me learning to receive myself. Somehow, in overdoing, there's a pleasing energy there. There's, hey, look at me, I'm great, I'm doing this, I'm sharing that, love me. So there's a hidden message in the background. I'll do this, this, and this. It's like a invisible contract of the pleaser. And there's a fear of not being loved, not being accepted. So part of my overdoing was being driven by a childhood wound of not feeling fully accepted, seen, loved, held, and nourished in presence. And that's not a judgment for any of my caregivers. That's a process that I was in, because I came to realise most fully that I was the one who'd abandoned myself, which was so big to see that. I saw that a few years ago. I've been blaming everyone else, the environment, situation, circumstance, and realised it was me. I disassociated from my own body, my own heart, my own feelings. There's a story behind that. I was sexually abused as a boy. There was some traumatic, drama when I was 12 years old that I jumped out of my body and tried to compensate and strategize to not feel the pain of that. And that became a way of being, and then trying to seek my way back into love again through overdoing. So I've got into a way of like overgiving through my life, and that has been burning my nervous system. Yeah. I hope you're listening out there, all you givers and healers. Doesn't mean that your message isn't correct, doesn't mean that your love isn't profound, your compassion isn't beautiful, and you've got great work to do here on the earth. But just take a moment. It's like, where are you in that work? Where am I in this work? You know, I matter as much as the people I'm giving to. Yeah, I've got to be in the same circle. This idea of sacrificial service, giving away of oneself, always being last on the line, you know, like some kind of strange benefit people think they get from sublimating their own needs, you know, or avoiding their own body. This kind of hero things like super, I don't need rest or love or this, I don't need anything, I'm going to give to you. And you can see there's a image there, there's a performance of self at some level. And so this whole journey for me is about cleaning it out, cleans it out, so my message and work becomes much clearer, simpler, and I'm absolutely included in it, receiving it as much as giving it. And I've got the next 3 months to practice. It's nice. So I'm quite relaxed right now while I'm talking to you, and I hope it's meaningful for you listening. Thank you for giving the time and attention here. Yeah, but what I'm sharing with you, really am sharing with me, because it's useful to hear the story for myself. So yeah, in a great way, lovingly accepting my own selfishness, selfishly love and adore Guy and this new possibility of my heart and this new strength and power of this bear who's coming together with the hummingbirds and the tiger in my para animals to like, it's a new force. I want you to picture that, you know. Tiger came to me when I was younger, strong Shiva energy. Hummingbird comes, frequency of the heart, and the bear comes, this fierce power, and also the dreaming mysticism. And they're all working together in my deep psyche, in my own inner totem animals, to empower me in a new dimension for my life now. I feel it. I feel it so clearly, so clearly. When you're confronted with the possibility of death, you know, things kind of sharpen up in your focus. You start to realize, well, hang on a minute, I've got to really review my life and have a good look and a good feel and make some changes. And obviously I wasn't listening loud enough, so the universe brings me the message to fully become more awake, alive, and clean out the things that have been holding me back from nourishing my heart fully. This whole conversation just now came out of receiving the love from the community. Yeah. I'm family. Beautiful. So beautiful to be open to receive love. You know, money, power, sex, wonderful. It's great to have these, and sometimes we spend our whole life dancing around this kind of circle of three. I've got enough money, enough power, enough sex, you know, in these lower three centers of our body, and in this survival mode, and feeling dissatisfied when one or all three of those are off balance. Yeah? And not being able to take the breath from the solar plexus to the heart, and take a pause and ingest and feel love that transcends this like lower domain game that we get into sometimes. And then you can have love, power and sex, which is part of the playtime, instead of this like drive and force and need and, you know, this over desire and hunger. Everything's much more relaxed, and that's the lesson I am allowing myself to come into more and more fully, is to come into the sovereignty of my heart. Like feel myself as a king sitting on the throne of my own being and feeling welcome here. And then considering, well, how would I like to creatively express myself or the life self from this perspective, from that sovereign king energy, and allow myself, you know, with precision, smartness, good use of energy, clarity, to then perform some tasks. And especially now, I just came home last night and my body is weak and my chest is broken. You know, but my spirit is strong, and like rewiring the messaging that I was living from and keeping the central message of love and truth and tribe and beauty and appreciation and gratitude, keep the central message, but just changing the format of expression so that I don't die, so that I can hang around a lot longer for you, for myself, for kids, for the world, because I want to be here. My desire to be here is so strong, and to share, as I feel that we're going through a huge transition on the planet right now. And I don't know, is need the right word? I feel it is. We need to step up and start shining our light and stepping out of our patterns and our fears and our limitations. And there's no should, it's optional. It's always voluntary. It's the whole thing about free will. You either choose to wake up or not. There's no judgment involved. But as a preference, it'd be great to come out of your conditional, contracted state of egoic fear and tension on all levels and step into your heart, so you can actually enjoy the life that you're living and be of good service by extending out with your beauty, extending out with your gifts, with your stories, with your energy, with your possibilities. So I'm sharing all this as a living demonstration of somebody who's just been torn apart and being put back together again. There's a myth, Isis, Osiris and Seth, where Osiris is torn apart by Seth, this kind of wolf-like god, and his body is scattered all over the earth. Yeah. And somehow he doesn't die. I don't know how that's possible, but his limbs and everything taken and scattered. And Isis lovingly, the winged goddess, goes around and collects all the parts and puts them back together again. And I look at myself in this myth. Seth tore me apart. My own kind of overdoing. Wanting to be liked, to be loved, over pleasing, too much effort, not sleeping, not resting, not taking time for me. Not allowing myself to fully just be in my own existence. That was Seth, the wolf god, tearing me apart. And Isis is like the beauty of this higher heart, comes back with love and compassion, kindness and mercy, like Mother Mary, to kind of just like softly put everything back into place again. And that's the energy I felt working through the surgeons and through your love and through the prayers and through what I'm becoming more aware of. It's like being reborn, literally reborn, remade, remolded. My heart stopped, and in some way I could say that my birthday is now also on the 18th of November. Probably somewhere between, I don't know, I went in at 5, maybe 5:45 in the evening. That's when they would have stopped my heart. And it starts again an hour later, and I felt like, so I come back in at 6:45, probably 7 o'clock. I'll say 7, I like 7s. 7 o'clock on the 18th of November 2004. I was literally reborn. And there's always a message in all esoteric texts of the second coming of the Christ, which is universal love for all beings. And it's the second birth we all have the opportunity to go through, where we wake up as our spirit, wake up as our heart, wake up as the life force, not just as the human being in the human drama, but wake up in this kind of sublime, kind of superhero landscape of love and kindness and compassion and wisdom. So thank you very much for listening. I'm going to stop now, let you get on with your day. Really appreciate taking the time. Just another little broadcast. I can't work for 3 months. I can't drive for 3 months. I can't work the way I was working for 3 months, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. And it gives me an opportunity to do what I've been wanting to do for a long time, which is to do some writing. I've been on the move in such a lot of beautiful transformational landscapes for the last 30 years doing this conscious work, and not really allow myself to stop to write the manuals and the books and the texts and the essays and the articles and blogs and everything else. And I have time now. I have time, but I also need support financially, as does my family, so I can actually have this time. So I've got to pay these medical bills, which were a lot, and pay my family back, who put some of that money up front, a lot of that money up front, and obviously pay rent and all these things. So I'm going to put a link to my GoFundMe page under this, if you feel moved to share some of your abundance with me, I would really appreciate that. I can tell you it would be a good investment for me, for you, for the world, for humanity, because I'm here to live, I'm here to give and serve in a balanced way. And I've got a lot of love that I want to move out into the world. So you'd be supporting not just me, but this task, this mission, this awakening for us. I would really appreciate that. And if you want to write your stories under here or connect to me personally, I'll probably share a few more of these on Facebook and YouTube, because I feel it's important to tell our stories. Really important. Our real stories. Not second-hand stories, not borrowed stories, not someone else's stories or anecdotes. Your story. What is that? What is it? Your meaning, your hero's journey, your heroine's journey, your pathway through the dark forest to the garden of delight. How did you do it? And this is just a taste or a little snapshot, quite a big snapshot, of what I've just been through the last few weeks. And I'm very, very happy to be home right now. And I'm really taking it easy. I'll let you know that I'm moving slowly. I'm drinking, I'm eating, tasting, feeling, sensing. I'm following the little intuitive prompts. I'm sleeping, I'm resting. I feel like I have an opportunity to take care of this new heart consciously. And I know a lot of you have been reminding me as well. Thank you. I'm listening. Sending love to your beautiful hearts. May you take care of your lives as well. Thank you for listening. From me, Guy Barrington.